Good afternoon, everyone. I really appreciate your presence for today's workshop. We are going to talk about building emotional resilience today. My name is Ocean Gupta. I work as a full time counselor at Mind Tribe Healthcare under Dr. Prerna Kohli. I specialize in areas of grief processing, handling relationship conflicts, and emotional dysregulation issues. I will be the host for today's workshop, and I invite you all to take whatever you can from today's discussion. Requesting you all to keep a paper and a pen ready to note down whatever you find helpful, and we'll also be doing a small activity shortly. So just keep a paper and a pen ready. We'll begin with some ground rules for the workshop. Try to keep your mics and cameras turned off throughout the session. This will ensure a smoother conduct. And please make sure that you don't take any screenshots or any recordings as they are not allowed, as this presentation is a property of Mindtribe. You can use the chat box to ask any queries, or you can also raise your hand whenever I open the session for discussion. And all the queries related to the content will be addressed by me over the chat box, and the rest of them will be handled by my co-host today, Debharka. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Ocean. Hello, everybody. I am Debarko. will be your co-host for today. I'll handle the logistics. I'm also a junior psychologist at Mindtribe. I have a master's in neuroscience. I follow a biopsychosocial model to help people gain awareness. I try to, give a safe space to explore and experiment and help people make small steps towards whatever they want to achieve. I really hope you guys enjoy the presentation today. You're with Ocean, you're in good hands. And keep a lookout for any messages. Please use the chat box, raise your hand, interact. I think you'll have a really good time. Over to you, Ocean.
Thank you for that, Devarga. Yes, guys, let's try to make this a non-judgmental space today so that anybody can share anything freely. And try to keep all the questions for later. You can add them in the chat box anytime, but we'll try to not disturb the flow of the presentation unless something urgent needs to be asked. Right. All right. Debharga, can you confirm if you can see the screen moving?
I can see the first slide, yes.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Right. So in today's workshop, guys, we're going to discuss about emotional discomfort and the ways we can take effective actions in the face of emotional discomforts. So usually in my therapy sessions, I keep meeting clients who in their very first sessions would want to set goals like, I just want to be happy, or I just want to feel calm and relaxed. Maybe I don't want to feel depressed or anxious anymore, right? So all of these emotional goals per se, they want to set these for themselves. So some of you all may as well relate to these thoughts, right? Now let's take some concrete steps today through this workshop on how we can move past these thoughts. With that said, let's first, I just want to do a quick check-in on how you guys are feeling today. So on a scale of 1 to 10, just give your responses on the chat box how you are feeling today. Superb. A mix of responses I'm getting. So for the people who are typing in a score less than 5, I request you all to pay attention and take whatever you can from today's workshop. I hope I'm able to extend all the resources well. Right. So let us understand what emotional resilience means first. So in simple terms, it would mean to accept the challenging situation and choosing to move on from it. Right? It is the way through which we empower ourselves and view our adversities as temporary in nature. Just like seasons, right? these situations, these challenging situations, as well as our emotional responses to it, are transient in nature. So remember, as we move ahead in this workshop, emotions are always our friends, and it is what we do with them is that makes the difference, right? So just try to stick to this thought throughout the workshop, and try to view your emotions as friends. Okay. Emotional regulation, that is understanding, managing, and handling our emotions, is a part of emotional resilience. It's important that we make that distinction from the very start. As we know that resilience is a broader term, right? It not only includes emotional regulation, but it also includes flexibility, a non-judgmental mind, a sense of high self-esteem, strong relationships, etc. Right? When we're stressed, our immediate reaction to any stressful situation is to either respond to it with an intense burst of negative emotions, or completely avoid them or suppress them. Right? Being emotionally resilient here would mean that we face these tough times, learn from them, and stay calm and adapt. Right? As written on the screen, emotional resilience is the ability to cope with stress and challenges, adapt to difficult situations, and bounce back from setbacks. So I have a few workable strategies for you all to learn this art of emotional resilience. But before that, let's discuss about a few factors that trigger negative emotions within us. Right. So learning about these factors can help us heal and acknowledge the pain or suffering we may have experienced, and to also see how many more people relate to our experiences, right? Now, here are general areas of life where these triggers might show up. These could be work related. For example, someone at work may give you a disapproving look, or someone is being overly critical of you at work. So to name a few financial triggers, we can say that would be helplessness, or someone taking advantage of you not being able to live up to your own financial goals. These can be some of the emotional triggers in this area of life. Now, while we are interacting with the world around us, people who are close to us, or even a stranger perhaps, can sometimes trigger us. We as humans are constantly looking for meaningful connections in life. And whenever these connections don't align with our mind and body, even when sometimes people don't react the way we want them to react, we get disappointed and triggered. Right? So triggers here could be you being rejected or ignored by someone close to you, someone being too needy or too busy to make time for you. Right? As a result, we may shut down, we might withdraw. Some people also tend to become people pleasers. Others may get easily angry, frustrated. Right. Now, coming to the health issue, I would like to discuss a very important connection between emotional resilience and stress response to address this point. First of all, our emotions come alongside a variety of bodily sensations. To put it simply, you must have noticed one or the other physiological response from your body in response to different emotions. So, just take for example, when you're scared, you might sweat, your heart might start to race, and you may start breathing rapidly. So, all these cues from the body help us cope with the stress in the short term. Now, my question to you guys is, why am I saying that like these physiological cues are helpful for us in the short term? Would anybody like to answer that? Yes, Rupashid. Go ahead.
Hello, ma'am. So, what I could get from your question is that, like, if we are having some sort of physical reaction, in the short term, that could mean two things. That, first of all, we'll be able to identify what is exactly wrong. We'll be able to work upon those things. Second of all, somehow there are some physical reactions that kind of prepare us for stressful situations. Like, if
Mhm.
I'm having a high, uh, कह सकते हैं, if I'm having a high pulse, then the blood rush is kind of helping me boost myself for that particular moment. In a long term, that could harm me, but in a short term, that would just boost performance.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. I think Rupashi answered it on the right track, and it is exactly our body's way of preparing to take action, right? Where, for example, as Rupashi mentioned a few points, I also have one. Like we're breathing heavily, right? Whenever we're scared, or we may even gasp sometimes, like that, right? So that we inhale enough oxygen and run quickly, like that's our body's response to it, and that's how our minds cognitively appraise these situations, right? We also have a few responses in the chat box. Harika says my stomach goes upset during anxiety and stress or panic attack, right? Harika, would you like to tell us why this may be happening and what this may be telling you about your anxiety and stress?
Hi all. So actually, that's from my personal experience. Like whenever I'm having anxiety, I'll be getting stomach upset, or before getting kicking the anxiety, I'll be getting stomach upset. So sometimes, if I'm getting it before, I'll be considering that okay, something is going to happen. So I need to calm myself, ground myself. Like come out of my thoughts, and like sit somewhere and think properly. But I mean, I have read somewhere that stomach and brain are interconnected. So obviously, like whatever that goes in our mind, it is directly related to stomach, and maybe that's what I believe.
Thank you for that great insight, Harika. I think you absolutely pointed it out correctly. And these physiological changes in the body, they definitely serve as a cue for us to evaluate what is before us. And thus, in the short term, they may be helpful for us if we are evaluating them in a positive light or in a light where we want to make ourselves feel safe, right? However, if these physiological responses or even the way we are perceiving them negatively, they keep persisting for a long time, in the long run, if this persists, this is the body's flight and fight response. Some people here may be, aware of this term. These physiological responses are a part of our body's fight and flight system, right? And so, if this stress persists for a long time, our capacity to use this flight and fight response may get diminished, right? It begins targeting our digestive and immune system as a response, right? So, therefore, the way we react to any situation, the way we appraise it, the way we evaluate it in its intensity, greatly affects our physical health as well, right? Both are interlinked. Now, loneliness is another point of trigger. The loss of a relationship or social withdrawal can affect our ability to manage emotions more than we think it does. So, it's like handling all the negative emotions on your own by yourself. Just imagine a child suffering in silence and dealing with painful emotions by himself or herself. So, negative emotions can sometimes cloud our judgment. And when we interact with the world, when we share our emotions with others, it may give us a new perspective to look at the situation, right? Acting as a buffer to stress. So, we're going to talk about this more in the upcoming slide about how having a strong social support network can act as a buffer to stress, and how it can make us more resilient to stress. Now, last point is comparison. Would anybody like to take a guess here how comparison can be a trigger? Anybody, if there's any point of relatability there, if Yes, Rupashi.
Ma'am, one thing could be that comparison changes the way we look at ourselves. For example, say I am someone who works with I do public speaking a lot. So during my early years, a lot of times my voice was compared with voice of other people who is bolder and stronger. So I was always made to feel I wouldn't have the kind of command they have. Later on, I realized I could change it for good and I could use my own voice in a different way. So comparison with them, in a way, somehow slowed me down in realizing my own potential.
Mhm. And just to direct you towards your feelings, how would you feel at that time?
At that time, since I was quite young, I didn't even know how to positively process all that. I would feel much more underconfident. I would even take a lot of time, a lot of prep talk to go on stage again. I would
Mhm.
also avoid competing with those kind of people, choose people I can work with. So I think I limited myself a lot during that period.
Mm-hmm. So that feeling of limitation, feeling of feeling less empowered, that lowered sense of self-worth, and in comparison, we also tend to self-criticize a lot, you know. And as rightly pointed out by a lot of people, also by Shruti, Aditi, yes, absolutely. I think insecurities do surface up all the time. And due to these feelings of insecurities, they just serve as emotional triggers for us. And sometimes when these emotions are not dealt with in that situation properly, right? If we are not able to properly talk to ourselves, rephrase our thoughts in that situation properly, they keep persisting, right? Some residue is always left for later similar situations, and thus making this a trigger point, right? So let's move ahead. Okay, so now that we've explored what emotional triggers are and how they show up in our lives, let's look into how these triggers impact our mental health over time. So, when we experience a trigger, as I mentioned before, our brain tends to revisit a similar past experience, usually a distressing one, right? And if these moments were never fully processed, as I mentioned, or if they're not fully understood in that moment, the body reacts as if the threat is still present. As I said, the residue is still there, and this repeated activation of distressing emotions can eventually result in chronic stress, anxiety, in a low mood, or even symptoms of trauma sometimes. So, just take for example someone who grew up feeling unheard. As an adult, if they are interrupted during a meeting or if they feel dismissed in a relationship, they may experience disproportionate emotional response, right? Feeling deeply invalidated or angry. So, thus, over time, these unresolved emotional triggers can contribute to a sense of instability in one's mental health. Right. So, one question to all of you, I would take two responses for this. What's one thing that's been weighing on your mind this week emotionally? Would anybody like to share with the group? Yes, Rupashi.
Actually, this week has been exam week for me. Like the past 2 months, I've been giving a few exams to get into a lot of colleges. I'm trying to. So for me, this week has been quite about decision making. Basically, I'm trying to make decisions for myself that don't align with the people around me. Like I'm trying to choose a course that may not align with everybody. I'm trying to change cities. I'm trying to pursue things that most people around me haven't pursued yet. So I'm in that sort of confusion that even though my instinct guides me that I'm right, am I actually right or not? So even though I'm putting in all my effort, I'm being persistent, I'm still not sure whether I'm actually making a good plan for my own life. So I'm trying my best, but yeah, I have some sort of uncertainty and a little bit of dissatisfaction.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Rupashi, I would like to say that with all the knowledge that you have right now, with all the resources, and with all the motivation that you're carrying right now, I think whatever you're doing, whatever effort you're putting is just enough, right? And yeah, I would like to wish you all the luck for all the decisions that you're taking, and I hope they turn out in your favor. Kanvi, we can take your response.
Thank you. It's Kanvi, right?
Okay, I'm so
Okay.
sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
no, it's okay. Just I'm fine. Okay, so basically, I'm working on myself, my emotional being, and the procrastination and everything I'm dealing with. I'm taking time to understand it. But obviously, if you're in the same environment, so there will be triggers, obviously. So that puts me down. But I try to focus on improving myself, but the environment and the situation या फिर कोई scenario create हो जाता है because the environment is same, so it will be same. So that thing is weighing me down and hampering my journey of self love or awareness. So that is it.
So, how are you coping with it, Kanvi?
Basically, I'm spending time with myself. I'm keeping myself busy also. I'm
Hmm.
avoiding people also, to be very honest. I interact with them, but always I have my different ideas and the other person has different ideas. So I try to keep myself busy. That is my own thing. I know which is an avoidant behavior, but it's fine. I don't want keep because now I have felt my mental peace is above everything, above my career, above my relationships. Because if I'm not gonna love myself or not gonna make boundaries, because I'm a person with no boundaries with anybody, and now I have with age I have started feeling it that I'm very exhausting about that. So basically. So recently I have joined one 7-day self-love challenge. So it has been only 2 days only, and I'm following that. Even if I'm not able to follow it completely, but still I do the journaling part in that, apart from meditation. And I am like seeing videos or being more aware about that thing, like taking it as a whole. So just thinking about it and implementing also. There are sometimes that I get triggered or I get angry, but I'm at a better place because this journey has started a long time ago, like approximately a year ago, or so that is currently I'm doing. I'm just finding ways, and I feel keep
That
in
is a
order
proud
of
moment. That is a proud
asking.
moment, Kanvi.
Yes,
Go on.
thank you. And in order to have the professional help, I need to be structured that what help I need. So I'm just figuring out that. And in case I'll not be able to help myself at certain stage, I know that stage will come because if I need more rapid results and I compare it compared to my me alone. Two is better than one, right? So then I'm just figuring out that whenever I will get time, basically I'm not letting this surrounding around me to affect me much, even if I have to be avoidant, because I know first of all I have to find the answer of this thing, and then everything will be fine because everybody is doing their own work. Nobody's getting affected. They will be affected for certain time, and they have their own work. So they are gonna have their own journey. So it will only create stress to me and my environment only ultimately. So that is it. I'm trying, and I'm very proud of myself that I'm at a far good place than I was few years ago. At least I'm aware at this age. I have seen my mother or my father not being aware because उस time पे mental health को इतना importance नहीं दी जाती थी because वो अभी इनको inculcate because they're 60, right? 60 or 55. So obviously we can't change anybody. We are rigid after 30 maximum, right? तो हमारा वो system build हो जाता है. But if you're not working on it, because there will become that when you will bounce back to your own situation. So that is all I'm
Those were
doing.
those were great insights, Kanvi, from your personal journey. Thank you so much for sharing that with the
And
group.
I feel Mind Tribe has a role in this because I started watching the workshops, etc. Even if I'm not fully present, so I would thank you guys also. The group therapies which are going on, or this, even if I listen properly or not, but it has affected me, and it has been like this month, I guess. or even last previous month also. So thanks to Mind Tribe also, each and everybody. Do
Thank you.
convey my message to ma'am also, and the your colleagues also who are
Thank you,
doing a
Karan.
need. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much for that acknowledgement. Right. Okay. Zizi says getting a lot of hate, anger, and abuse from a parent. So that makes me feel that I'm a horrible person and I can't believe anyone else who says otherwise. Because until my parent says I'm good, I can't get myself to believe anyone else saying anything good about me as such. Zizi, I understand how looking for validation from your parents is the most important thing for you in the moment. However, while you're looking for their validation, I would like to encourage you to keep looking it inwards, because I nobody can even your parents cannot understand you the way you understand yourself, right? So try to turn that seeking validation inwards, and yeah, I hope that helps you. Kamini Sharma says, recently got my first job and feelings of being judged is disturbing me. Right. Kamini, and to all the people here who have not been able to answer or give a response to, can stay back, and I would like to at least hear you guys after the presentation is done. For now, I think we'll just move ahead because there's a lot to cover. Right. So let's now talk about the first building block of emotional resilience. That would be self-awareness, right? So self-awareness means being able to pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? And why might I be feeling this way? Right? It's about recognizing not just the emotion, but the underlying unmet need. So always and always, for any negative emotion that you feel, right, there's an underlying unmet need that needs to be fulfilled. So try to identify those unmet needs and that are not being touched in that moment, and try to address them and try to find a material solution for it so that you can fulfill that need directly. And as a result, your emotions would get, negative emotions would get subside. Has anybody raised their hand? All right. I think no. So as I said, yeah, it's important that we develop this self-awareness, right? And without this awareness, we're often just reacting. But with it, we can begin responding more consciously, right? So it's all about making conscious choices about how to cope rather than reacting impulsively. And a helpful way to start building self-awareness, as also mentioned by Kanvi, is journaling, right? Every other therapist you would see would suggest journaling as a way to build more self-awareness and gain more insight in one's mental health, right? It is because it really helps you to notice what triggered a strong emotion, what the emotion felt like in the body, and what the story your mind told you in that moment, right? And if we journal our emotional experiences along all of these lines that I just mentioned, it's going to help us address them, not in our language of thought, but not in our thought language per se, but also in a way that we can just read it out like somebody else is telling us that. So journaling does help, and over time this practice will help you understand your emotional patterns, giving you more room to choose your response rather than being driven by the past pain. So self-awareness doesn't remove pain, it just empowers you to navigate it wisely, right? And I would like to encourage all of you to start being an emotional scientist, a compassionate emotional scientist, right? Being curious about your emotions in this journey of building self-awareness as the first building block of resilience. And not be an emotional judge at all times, right? So oftentimes whenever we find ourselves even journaling, right, if somebody has practiced it here, if we find ourselves journaling some thoughts, some emotion, we start judging ourselves, uh, right? So I would encourage you all to not be a judge here, and just be curious and be more compassionate while you're writing all of these thoughts. So if you're experiencing an emotion of guilt, just acknowledge it, gain that awareness, accept it, and then move forward in terms of how you want to, handle that emotion, and what are the concrete steps that you can take to handle that emotion, rather than just judging yourself and pestering yourself for experiencing it. Okay, now let's quickly grab a pen and a piece of paper. I have a small activity for you guys, a very quick one. So keep it ready and we begin in just a moment. All right, so here are a few adjectives on the screen, and I would like you guys to note down at least 3 to 5 strengths that you possess. Just acknowledge these, strengths that you do possess. And if you would like to share with the group, I invite you all to write it in the chat box. We would love to know what strengths you possess. Once you guys are able to do that, just give me a thumbs up. Even if you're not being able to note it down somewhere, just do a mental check. All right, I think we can move ahead. Right. So why did we engage in this activity? We have already learned emotional resilience is about bouncing back and, just bouncing back from all the setbacks that we're facing. However, how do we bounce back? What is the way to bouncing back? What do we resort to during a challenging time? So I would like to explain you guys that emotional resilience is not just about managing your pain. It's also about remembering our strengths, those inner qualities that will help us bounce back. Right? So each of us has strengths, though we often forget them when we are emotionally overwhelmed. Um, Maybe it's creativity, maybe it's empathy, perseverance, humor, or even the ability to ask for help. So when we reconnect with these parts of ourselves, when we reconnect with these abilities and strengths, we access more than just coping tools. What are these things? We access a version of ourselves that is capable, that is grounded, and that is more resourceful, right? So now I would like to just take 2 more responses over the mic. And I would like to ask you guys, what are the personal strengths that have helped you get through difficult times before? Kanvi mentioned quite a few strategies she practices in her daily life right now to cope with the situation that she's dealing with. I would like to ask other people now, what are the personal strengths that have helped you to get through any challenging time? Anybody who would like to share?
Patience.
Patience, right. Thank you for sharing that. How do we pronounce your name?
Ajeshwari.
Ajeshwari. Ajeshwari, would you like to just give me one statement in how patience has helped you?
Patience, it maybe you get the time to reflect and think, and accordingly, it brings in some calmness where you can think with some clarity.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Ajeshwari. That's a very valuable insight. Yes, Pooja, let's hear you.
Yes, hello, hi.
Hi.
So, believing in myself and being optimistic and during that situation has helped me overcome it a lot. Knowing that it will be all right, and that I can overcome it. It will pass. That kind of mindset has helped me a lot. While overcoming situation and challenges. Yeah.
Great points. Patience and having a sense of self-belief and a positive outlook to the situations. Um, very nice. Pooja, I would like to ask you: could you lean onto these strengths again now today if you're facing any challenging situation currently?
Yeah, I can lean on to the strengths right now as well. I am having, sorry, I am facing a challenging situation with my friend. Currently, our relationship has uh, been a little disturbed right now. So I am still optimistic on the fact that it will get better with time. We'll understand each other better with time, and then we'll overcome it. So that particular mindset, it helps me a lot while facing challenges and to overcome them. Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that. That's a very hopeful thought, and yeah, I think something that we all can learn from, to stay hopeful and take that positive outlook towards life. Uh, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Uh,
thank you.
so sometimes building emotional resilience means simply reminding ourselves, as Pooja does, or as Ajeshwari does. Um, I have done hard things before, and I can do this too. Okay, I trust my memory, and I have done. I have overcome so much in my life, already, and this time also I can, overcome anything, whatever is on the plate. Now we'll move on to another building block of emotional resilience, right? And that's mindfulness. It is one of the most effective tools we have to regulate. Like we can learn to manage our emotions well, right? To how to regulate our emotions. So, what is mindfulness? It's nothing but a practice of living consciously, right? And it involves a particular attitude that is non judgmental, that is curious, that is open. And let's move ahead with the definition of it. It helps with emotional regulation by increasing awareness of your thoughts, feelings in the present moment. This awareness allows you to pause, process emotions calmly, and respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Right? So, a very important element of mindfulness is being here and now. Right? So, it's important that we note here that mindfulness is an awareness process, and it's not a thinking process, right? And it is our ability to be here and now, and that is in the present, with attention and with flexibility. Now, imagine how you as a child interacted with the world around you uh, when you did not know how to speak. Would anybody like to take a guess on how you interacted with the world around you as a child?
I guess free, without being judged, without being commented upon, and it was like from heart.
From the heart. Okay, yes, great point. Zainab says crying. Would anybody else like to take a guess? In general terms, not getting too involved in the emotions that you're dealing with right now, but just in generic terms, how would a child engage with the world around?
I guess physical senses are quite active, so they'll be using those, like looking around, listening to voices, etc.
Absolutely, yes. That's exactly the answer that I was looking for. We, as kids, used our senses, right? And now, as you grow up, you start building a world of language, right? Of words, of pictures, symbols. So most adults only live in this world of language, and we start to completely ignore the world we experience through our senses. So that actually grounds us to the present moment. You must have noticed that as children, we were always in the present moment. We were not dwelling in the past, neither looking for what we have to do in the future. We were just grounded in the present. That's because we were more engaged with our senses in the external surrounding, right? We were more engaging as kids with the surrounding as we are now. So yeah, so now I think that must have given you guys an idea of what mindfulness essentially is. And now I would just like to discuss a few techniques through which mindfulness can be practiced, right? One of them is deep breathing. So when you slow your breath, you signal your nervous system that you are safe, right? And try inhaling deeply through your nose for 4 counts, holding for 4, exhaling through the mouth for 6. So this is one technique that you can use to practice deep breathing, and through that mindfulness. And you just need to practice a few rounds for this to settle your anxiety or any negative emotion that you're feeling. Then another one is body scan. So this would mean to take a moment to mentally check in with your body from head to toe. You go one by one through each part of your body and ask yourself, where am I holding the tension? And softly releasing it, gently releasing that tension. And often emotions live in the body, right? As we were discussing in the very beginning, that our emotions and the way we respond physically is very closely related, almost like it overlaps. So just relaxing the body can help us relax that emotion as well, right? And lastly, as we noted that point of engaging with the senses, I think engaging with the senses is a huge part of mindfulness. And one way we can do this is by practicing the 5 4 3 2 1 method. And just for the people who don't know what that is, we can start engaging with the world around us using our senses. So 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can taste, right? So this would count all of our senses. That would be seeing, touching, hearing, smelling, tasting. And we just name all of these things, or acknowledge these objects, or anything, texture. Just we are acknowledging all of these things being there in our surrounding, and sort of looking beyond what our mind is saying, what our emotion is saying, and looking beyond that, right? And engaging with the world. So that is one way that we can ground ourselves again. Now, I would just like to tell you all that practicing these techniques wouldn't make your emotions disappear altogether, but they would definitely create a space for you to respond rather than react, right? Now, I would like to do a very small activity with you guys. Yeah. No need to hesitate to practice this, since already our cameras are off. So I do encourage all of you to practice it. If you're feeling any negative emotion currently, if it's right on the surface of your head, just sit with me here. So for a few seconds, just allow yourself to focus on your breathing. Sit in a comfortable posture with your feet touching the ground. Close your eyes gently. Now bring your attention to your breath. Don't try to change it, just notice it. As you're noticing it, you imagine your breath as a wave. It's slowly rising as you inhale and gently falling as you exhale. Simply notice this natural process and feel the air entering through your nose. It feels cool, it feels light, and then feel it leaving. Feels warm, feels soft. Now imagine this breath as a gentle anchor. It's keeping you steady in the present moment. Every inhalation that you're taking, it's like a quiet reminder for you. I'm here. And every exhale says, I let go. Take 2 more gentle breaths together. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Now, whenever you're ready, slowly bring your awareness back to the room and open your eyes whenever you're ready. Just taking a pause for a few seconds for people to come to the presentation again. Right. So you've just practiced simply sitting through and being with yourself. And this is exactly what mindfulness is, right? And believe me that this much is enough. If you are not wanting to practice deep breathing or that body scan technique or even indulging your senses into this practice, just focus on your breath. Even while you're going to sleep, if you're finding it hard to sleep at night, just try to focus on your breath and just notice that natural process of things. That's it, right? Now let's take a small ad break, guys. So I would like to take you guys through this ad. Right. So just like those moments on YouTube when a quick ad pops up, we have a short ad break, and don't worry, it will be quick and super beneficial. So stay tuned. So what exactly is one-on-one counseling? It's a personalized, confidential chat between you and a trained therapist. Now imagine having someone who really listens, understands you, and helps you figure things out. What are the benefits? Personal growth, solving problems, setting goals, boosting your mental well-being. It's like having a personal coach for your mind. Now let's bust a big myth. Many think counseling is only for those who are unwell, but that's not true. Counseling is for anyone who want to become their best self. If you want better relationships, if you want more friends, a spot in your dream college or job, counseling can help you with all of that. It's about making the best version of you. So why choose Mind Tribe Counseling? First of all, our counselors are super talented and we're also super affordable with our sessions ranging just from rupees 900 to 5,000. And our first session is only for rupees 99. And whenever you're comfortable, if you find your counselor comfortable in the very first session, and if you match with your counselor, you can choose from the affordable packages that he or she lays down for you. And yeah, so empowering minds, transforming lives. This is what we do at Mind Tribe. And if you guys have any urgent questions to ask us about how therapy at Mind Tribe works, you can ask on the chat box, or you can also raise your hand immediately and ask me. All right, I believe not. So we'll move ahead with the presentation. Yes, so this would be our last topic of discussion for today. A very important one, I would say, is the power of connection, right? So as humans, we are wired to co-regulate. What do I mean by meaning to co-regulate? We often process emotions better in the presence of someone we trust, right? So a supportive relationship can act as a mirror, as it will help us see things clearly when our own mind is clouded with negative emotions. So a strong social support is the biggest protective factor, I would say, or it's the biggest shield to your challenges. It can not only help us cope with stress emotionally, but it can also help us in terms of practical resources like financial support or help or advice, opportunities. Um, right. So having a strong social support can help us with all of these things. Now, think about who your safe people are. The ones who listen without any judgment and who keep checking in on you, who remind you of your worth. So if you could think of someone like that, hold on to them tightly, I would say, and be grateful. If you feel like you don't have those connections yet, that's okay. And building them can start with small steps. It's about being open. It's about being able to share anything honestly, being vulnerable, asking for support, right? It can start with that. Now, who do you reach out to? When you are looking for that support, you can reach out to family, you can reach out to friends, peers, colleagues, professionals like us, online communities or online organizations like ourselves, Mindtribe, right? Community groups. You can resort to, be a part of some social service community. And even being a part of a group like this one, right, is a powerful way to foster emotional resilience. So whenever we feel seen, heard, and whenever we feel that we're held by somebody, we are more likely to heal. Right. Now I would like to invite anybody here to read out a case study for me. Any volunteers? Any volunteers to read out the case study? Yes, Rupashi. Thank you for doing that. Sure.
May I start reading? Am I audible
Yeah.
perfectly?
Yes, you are.
Meet Anita, a 32-year-old marketing professional, felt overwhelmed by stress at work. She struggled with criticism, doubted her abilities, and often avoided conflicts because she feared rejection. These issues made her feel stuck both personally and professionally.
Right. Thank you so much. Now I would like to invite somebody else to tell me how is Anita dealing with these struggles? What is she exactly facing? What did you guys point out? Anybody? Yes. DA
Hello?
says confidence. Yes, Harshita.
Yes. So, um, so we can see, she struggled with criticism, doubted her abilities.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Exactly. As Harshita and DA pointed out, there's self-criticism, there's low confidence, self-doubt, doubting of the abilities. Right.
Low self-esteem.
Low self-esteem. Yes, absolutely. So Anita's struggle, they came from the feeling that she wasn't good enough, as somebody just pointed it out, due to the low self-esteem, getting emotionally upset when criticized, and not having effective ways to deal with stress, right? Of course, she didn't have enough resources to, as in to how to deal with the stress. So of course, from that, all of these negative emotions were emanating. So after therapy, Anita sought therapy, and after therapy, how would she feel? She felt more confident when facing criticism or setbacks. She would know how to manage stress better and how to stay calm and focused during the times of adversities. She would be able to improve her relationships at work, and she would also start mentoring others. And she also gained a sense of control and a balance in her life, right? So the reason why all of us are here also today is simply to, regain that balance in our life. And so does therapy work, right? You like, it just helps you give that gain that sense of balance in life, and with the proper guidance and with the proper professional help into how to manage negative emotions, can help you guys move ahead with your life in a more effective way and in a more healthy way. Now, I would like to just leave you guys with a takeaway tool that would be creating a personalized affirmation. So on that, I would like to say that the way we react or the way we feel is somehow directly dependent on how we speak to ourselves, right? Somebody did point it out in today's session that having that self-belief, and having that self-belief can, it's all about how we talk to ourselves, right? So I'll feel incapable of completing this assignment today. Say, for example, somebody who's feeling like that, I feel incapable of completing this assignment today, would immediately feel this immobility to work, or this demotivation or disappointment in oneself. Now, if you changed it to I have situations in life that I can feel sad for or I can feel anxious about, but right now in this moment I'm capable to focus on my assignment. And if you were saying these words along with me in your head, you must have noticed the shift in the way you were feeling, right? So this must have empowered you in some way or energized you. So thus our thought language really plays a huge role in how we feel. It is not easy to automate these thoughts initially, but with frequent and repeated practice, we can learn to grow these thoughts automatically. And we must begin by forming a personalized affirmation for ourselves, right? As an activity, we did identify a few of our strengths today, three of them, 3 to 5. So just begin by forming a affirmation along those adjectives by starting with I am, I can, or I will, right? Whatever fits. And then practice it daily. Maybe it could be just simply looking in the mirror and, saying these affirmations out loud to yourself, looking in the mirror, or just saying it out loud to yourself when you're sitting doing that assignment or working on that project, or, cooking or doing any other chore. So this was the takeaway tool that I would want you guys to take with yourself after the session. And I would like to just leave you guys with this quote.
Ma'am, I have a question.
I'm sorry. Can you come again?
I have a question.
Yes. Yes.
So the thing is, that example, the case study we saw, I am in that same exact situation. So what was the solution to the case study actually? Like, what was the answer for that?
Okay. DA, I would just like to tell you that this workshop is not a replacement for personal therapy. However, I would like to address your issue, and I would request you to stay back. And besides that, if anybody else has any questions related to the content we covered today, any doubts regarding that, I would encourage you to raise your hand and ask me now. DA, please stay back. So we are almost done with the content. We just need to take a few questions. Any questions, guys? If you don't have any questions, thank you so much for being here today. And I hope you guys learned something. Yes, Rupashi.
Ma'am, I have one question. One thing I have struggled with for quite a while is satisfaction. In fact, feeling content at the end of the day comes rare to me. Like sometimes I would feel perfectly okay with my day, like I did enough and I have had a good day. But mostly it would be a little tough for me to get into that zone. It's more achievement oriented for me. So, how do we enhance our satisfaction with life?
So to answer that question, Rupashi, we did discuss about mindfulness, right? And it's one of the very it's one of the most effective ways to increase your satisfaction in life, I would say. This is something that I suggest to all my clients. I think all the counselors that are present here also today would support that. That mindfulness can give you that way in life to stay in the present, because oftentimes why we're not able to be fully satisfied is because we're not in touch with the present, right? And if that's not the reality in your case, if it's something related to goals, or if your inability to achieve these goals, then I would say that try to identify what really is causing that dissatisfaction in life. Is it that goal, or try to find out a solution, as I said, materially, if you can find a solution to that. If not, then you can reach out to a professional like us, and yeah, we'll be able to help you out.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, Kanvi.
Yes, I have a question. Like, if someone is dealing with stress, family traumas, childhood traumas, and emotional regulations, confused, anything. So, what I feel is, I know the answer. I just need to rectify it with you. The emotions are the like even a child is using senses. Senses also kind of an emotion. When we touch something, so we feel it. So it is all feelings, and feelings are related to emotions slash emotions, right? So it means if somebody is having any problem, even relationship, in all 4 5 areas of our life, like health, anything. So the very first thing should be emotional regulation, right? The webinar which we have attended, and it will pave path with mindfulness and awareness for the other things to align, right?
Very well put.
Okay. I just needed to rectify this thing only. And I have a suggestion for rest participants. Can I share?
Please, yes, of course.
Yes. I have recently attended something, and I just learned this thing by yesterday only. I attended. Everything starts from a thought. They turn into feelings or emotions, and then we have the physiological or body effects, and then it leads to our behavior, and the cycle keeps on repeating. So there's a theory by somebody, I guess, I can't recall the name. So he tells ki if you're modulating one of your behavior in this, either your thought you're modulating in a positive sense, that will lead change to the other factors automatically. For example, अगर आपने वॉक करना स्टार्ट कर दिया है ना, तो दैट विल चेंज योर मूड, एंड ऑटोमेटिकली आपका बिहेवियर और आपकी थॉट भी चेंज होंगी. सो दिस इज अ टेक अवे विच आई लर्न रिसेंटली yesterday only, that I want everybody in this to apply, because I am also trying. I am in the very initial stages. So that's all. I hope everybody has understood.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Kanvi, for that strategy. At the end, I hope, Devi, that answers your question. I think it's a great way to tackle your negative thoughts, what Kanvi suggested. Sorry, I'm so sorry, Kanvi. Keep pronouncing your name incorrectly. Yes,
Yeah. I can you just share some points on building emotional resilience in children? Children.
Right. I think for children, just attending to their emotional needs as a caregiver and talking to them with genuine care would be one of the most practical and doable steps that you can take. If you're looking for any other concrete strategy, I think to how to and how to identify hidden emotions in children, you can try art therapy with them. You can it's really effective in children. So, and also trying that emotional wheel. Try to look it up after the session today. Try to explain to them once you are able to understand it yourself. Try to explain them different meanings of each emotions, and ask them, encourage them to label them correctly according to the situations that they face in life. So that could be the first step, Ajeshwari, for children.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, anybody else who would like to come on the mic and ask me anything? Or else we can move ahead with the questions that are there on the chat box.
Ma'am,
Yes, dear.
so like I just wanted to ask what is the answer to the case study if it's not already been covered?
Right. Would you like to just give me briefly what you're experiencing? Let's leave the case study for now.
Okay. So I'm actually applying to jobs right now, and I feel I don't have the proper skills. I have low confidence in the skills. Of course, the obvious answer might be to just learn the skill from online course or something. But I have problems with confidence because there was this one time when I got my first internship, my first ever job. I almost got fired from that job, and it really shook my confidence. And now I feel, what if the same thing repeats? Because I'm not doing that same because I'm going back into that same skill set this time. Like I changed my career just a little bit in after that internship. Now again I'm going back to that one. So I'm feeling scared, and I feel like it's not good enough. I'm not getting calls also, so I have to little bit start exaggerating the skills a little bit on my resume, because otherwise I'm not even getting interview calls. So but that is also like making me nervous that I won't be good enough. And I was like, while I was filling out the application, I was getting like these thoughts that like I was imagining how the boss will be shouting at me that, oh, you put all this on your resume but you have nothing, like in that way. So I don't know.
Dear, I would like to ask you, just because you faced one setback in life, maybe it has happened very recently about your internship. I would like to ask you, as a child, when you were in school, maybe, what did you notice a few of your strengths? Today also we did one activity on strengths. Would you like to tell me what strengths you wrote?
As a child, the strengths I had was that I was not afraid to be different. I was a tomboy, so I just I just wanted to be myself. I didn't want to be girly or whatever, which is the conventional way. And the other strength I would say is that I um, felt I was a bit smart because I did well in school. So that was like a validation for me. But actually, I had no self esteem growing up, and that was my only source of validation. That I studied well. That's all. That was only one thing that my whole self esteem was based on.
but you still have that one thing, right? And that cannot be changed ever. You will always be that girl, right? Who was good at studies at school.
Yeah, but the job is different, and I have very low EQ. I have been tested by my therapist. I have only 64 on 160. That will affect.
Mhm. Right, right. DA, I would just like to point out, and for others also who are being able to relate to DA, this is this mindset in psychology we called overgeneralizing, right? It's a cognitive distortion, and it's essentially an error in thinking, and it's just about only looking at the negative, right? Not looking at the positive. And I'm not blaming you or DA or anybody else. It's just it's a very automatic process that happens. But it's important to note that we have one strength, right, that we can still base our whole self-esteem on. And I'm sure it's not just one. DA, if you would ask your friends or maybe your family, they'll be able to point out what your other strengths are. Maybe this is the only thing that you're looking at right now, given your current situation. I would encourage you to just keep working on what you're working on currently, and yeah, I mean, you can still stay back if you feel that your answer has been unanswered, and I will try to address it later. Um, yeah, I just need to take a few more questions here, and then you can stay back, dear.
Thanks.
All right. Okay. Right, Devi. I hope we answered your question. Rajitha asks how to handle the feeling when we can't decide what we're feeling. Um, right. So, Rajitha, as a part of this workshop, the first step that we took, or the first strategy that we noted down, was about how to be more self aware, right? So, I think, I hope that answers your question. We need to be more aware first in terms of how we're feeling. And I did also mention about the wheel of emotions chart to somebody. And I would recommend you also that to first identify what is going on and what you're feeling, right? And then coming on to the handling part. And as I said, that there's often any unmet need that's attached to this negative feelings, right? So try to identify that feeling, and try to address it in a right manner. So if you don't have anybody who is there to tend you or tell you how good you are, or anybody who's not there to basically encourage you in this tough time, then I would say that you start developing that voice for yourself, right? And if you guys want me, I can share a positive affirmations document with you guys later after the workshop, so that you guys can take help through that. And the takeaway activity as well, right? That can really be helpful, guys. So all of these things are quite doable, which is why we think that okay, they may not help us out, but only when we try them, when they work, right? So I would request you all to try it out. Nidhi, ma'am, for children, can we use some play-based strategies for building emotional resilience? Nidhi, was it your question about the how to build emotional resilience in children? If not, I think play therapy definitely works, Nidhi. It's a great way. It's a part of cognitive behavior therapy. Also, it can be combined with CBT, and it's quite effective. And which strategies can be included in play therapy, Nidhi? I am not specialized in providing child counseling, so I would recommend that you reach out to a child counselor in that case. Sure, Rajita, I will share the affirmations document with all of you guys. Yes, Pooja, everybody who don't have any question can leave. Thank you so much for attending, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ayushka. Yes, Nidhi, I can share that. Thank you, Shruti. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you. Okay, Zizi and Shruti, Sharika, Sangeeta, Sandeep, if you guys don't have any questions, you guys can leave. Kanvi, Devi. DA, you can stay back if you have any question.
I'm also staying back so I can also learn from others' experience as well.
Sure. Shruti, can you come on the mic? Okay. Can you come on the mic and ask me, please? Okay, no worries. Let me read it out from there. I'm aware of my emotions and my feelings. I also know the steps I need to take to make my situation better, but the execution is what I lack. It's like even after trying, I constantly pull myself back to unhealthy patterns because they feel strangely familiar and comfortable. Right. Um, okay, fine. Shruti, if you're not being able to come on the mic, I would just like you to answer whatever I ask you now on the chat box. Okay, just be prompt with it. So just imagine that uh, just give me a moment. Sorry. Yeah, so sorry about that. Yeah, so okay, so Shruti, try touching any object that's around you. Just touch any object that's lying beside you. Now you can stop touching it, and let's do just another one. Touch any other object that's around you. Yeah, if you're done with that, just you can take your hand back. And I would just like to ask you if you used your hands to touch that object. Did you use your hands to touch that object? Just give me a thumbs up if you did. Okay, you did. Right. So a lot of times we just use our hands, right? Now, was there any other way you could have used that, you could have touched that object? Possibly any other way you could have touched that object using any other body part. Sensations are all around our, we can we can feel that touch from anywhere in our body, right? With my face, absolutely, with your face. So now I would just like to tell you that this is exactly what resilience means, and this is exactly what you would have experienced while attending the workshop today. And I would appreciate you and congratulate you that you have already taken the first step towards building that resilience, right? And as you already knew the steps, just take these the steps that you mentioned on the chat box, that you've already practiced a few solutions before in your life, right? So try to take these solutions as your hands, right? And now you have finally identified that you can use your face also to touch these objects, and you can take that what do you say, you can take a different perspective to you can look out for different perspectives, right? You can use your different body parts, and you can view that same situation using different strategies if they are not already working for you. So if you've already used your hands, you can use different things. So I hope that analogy sort of made you realize that if something is not already working for you, you can try looking for something else, right? So since you already mentioned that you've tried so many times all of these strategies, and they have not been able to work for you, it's also about the mindset that you're in, right? So sometimes we're doing an activity just because we think that it might help us, and we're not really actively engaging in it. Shruti, we're not really engaging with the activity. So try to notice the next time that you try to apply these solutions, and if they're not helping out for you, they're not helping you, I would recommend that you try seeking therapy. If not multiple sessions, try taking 1 or 2 sessions, and we can perhaps come up with more better strategies there. And if you think that these strategies are good enough, then I would encourage you to actively engage in them whenever you can. Okay. So I hope that answered your question. Thank you, Shruti. Thank you so much. DA, do you still have any question?
No, ma'am.
All right, all right. So I hope this workshop was helpful for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
All right. Yes. Yes, Kalvi.
Yes. Can I suggest DA something, if you allow?
Yes, please. Of course, of course. Please go ahead.
I don't know your full name and your age or something, but जो आप current situation, I guess you are fine with Hindi, right?
I can understand a bit. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
28 years
I'll
old.
be in English. Okay, ठीक है. So I have been in that situation which you are telling for quite a long time, right? The only solution, in short, because since ma'am is already in the meeting and she's staying back because of this, I just want to just try to change your environment. If you're not able to change your environment, involve in things which you like, which you have interest with life you get. Na? For example, I'll give you a scenario. I was in the same scenario. I used to see my blessings also as curse only. My whole life, my 29.5 years, I have done like that only. And I was so introvert, so depressed. I have even gone to a psychiatrist for the medicines also. I have taken it for some time, but due to the social pressure of my family and my teacher, I have dropped that down. Might be it was a good decision, might be it was the not right. It has taken me a long time. It is a long process, and what I think currently, you don't value yourself. You value yourself. Even I also don't. I am at same stage still, but at a better position, I can say. You're not valuing. You're assigning, or you're contacting your value with the respect to you have a job, or you are helping your households and everything. But you have to spend time with yourself, which is very, very difficult. You should journal, and you should change your environment. अगर आपको लगता है आपका घर का environment toxic है, तो have distance from them. Time, right? Start with 5 minutes a day with the meditation or journaling or something. It will be very, very, very difficult. You will bounce back. You will cry. You will cry for no reason and everything. It will be a long process, right? But when you will keep distance from that thing, if this is not possible for you to shift to some other place or something, you just involve in things. जैसे कि आपने बोला कि you have to improve your skills, right? So make friends जो आपको encourage करें, चाहे एक दो हो, चाहे आप उन्हें express कर पाओ, चाहे ना कर पाओ, right? And for example, you want to improve your skills. For example, I am from microbiology background, but bioinformatics is an emerging one, and I have interest because that makes me keep active, right? So I put online workshops for that thing, right? Low paid or free, however I feel like, है ना? Depending upon the quality. So I learn it, and that gives me happiness, right? I learn about psychology because I want to improve myself. I attend various webinars, etc. I have seen you also, DA, in the many workshops of DA, and which is very good. It's a very initiative. When you will surround yourself with these things, then automatically your vibration and frequency will be like this, and you will start attracting people like that, right? So you have to just change your mindset, and that is really difficult. I still go back to my own self, but yeah, I cry and I don't tell, but I have seen how aware I am. Take pauses, be mindful. Like jo activity abhi now only ma'am told, try that thing. She told it very nicely and very elaborated. Like I have attended various webinars, and nobody has gone out of the box and addressing personal problems also. I really appreciate the moderator today for that thing, who stays longer and who address specific problems also. And she was not in a rush because she knows that this is the basis of any psychological distress or disorder or anything, right? This is, I hope, dear, you got some clarity.
Yes, thank you so much, Kanvi. And yeah, today's moderator is also good in the workshop because the other ones, they usually just listen and they move on. But she's actually addressing, so it's very helpful.
Yes, even I understood like you were wanting the answer because I know a little help from somebody that could makes wonder because people have helped me. I'm telling you that thing. Just you have to change the shift and it will be very difficult. I understand, and just do things that enjoy you. Might be you are not enjoying the thing when you were a kid. I also don't enjoy going outside. I'm totally socially inactive. I don't do, but I keep contact with certain people at certain time or keep myself busy. So I hope it will help. If you have any problem, we can talk anytime, Hana. If you has.
Thank you, Kanvi. That is so
Thank you.
kind. Very helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you that you have given the space for letting us do, and even you have gone out of the box. As Jay also tells me, I like today I am aware or something. I am in a neutral mood. Might be that's why I'm more aware and I'm more attentive in this. Might be the topic is like that, and even you being moderator also, like she also told, it is not for pumping or something. I'm not a person who pumps anybody. Even one there was one last webinar. She was very lively. I stopped. I was in a position because now I am alone at my home, so I am more expressive. Otherwise, I just listen and I just get distracted. Hai. So that's why the scenario was like that. So I really appreciate for this thing.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words, Kanvi, and thank you for such valuable insights. That was really helpful, not just for the audience. It was also for us counselors. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You guys can take a leave now, guys. We can, call it a day.
Thank you.
Bye.
And do convey my thanks to Mindtribe and everything, ma'am. Also, don't specify my name. Just tell a candidate, right? She attends and she's really grateful.
Oh, thank you so much. I would really appreciate if you could leave a review, Kanvi, in that case.
Ma'am, I have asked, like I attend workshop now, so I have already reviewed once for 2 from my mother's email ID and that, so I should modify that thing. Because वो मैंने तब certificate के लिए apply किया था, right, workshop के लिए, but now I'm doing it for like वो तो randomly कर लिया था, but now I do it for my growth. So how I should change that review?
Yeah, anything can help. I can also convey to ma'am, but thank you so much.
Sure.
If you can leave a review, I'll really appreciate it.
Okay, I'll just modify that one. I will for sure do that.
All right, thank you. Yes, Devi, you will receive an update on that on the WhatsApp group only. So just stay connected over there. Thank you, Devi. Thank you, Sangeeta. Thank you, Sharika.